Hello, I'm Michael Dunn. You may not know me, but I know a lot about you. I know that since you're watching this tape, someone's asking you to contribute some of your own hard-earned dollars to your political action committee. I also know that most of you don't want to be here. You don't like politics, and you're naturally suspicious of people with a political cause. Making a contribution to your PAC is not exactly on your top 10 list of things you'd like to do. I also recognize that most of you are aware that the decisions made by lawmakers on Capitol Hill and in the state legislatures are important, and they directly impact the quality of your own lives as well as the values you hold dear. Most of us have felt that impact directly more than once in our life. Given that conflict, why then should you support your political action committee? Well, the answer is really very simple. Your PAC is the only way you and your colleagues have of joining together and investing in a sound political future for you and the interests you share. Those are fine-sounding words, but is it enough to sign up and support your PAC? It is if you understand the realities that you face in our political system. For example, every time Congress or any state legislature passes a law or makes a policy decision, it directly affects some group in society. Very seldom is the decision a win-win situation for everyone involved in the policy decision. In most cases, for one group in society to win, other groups must lose, or at least give up more than they wanted. In other words, when a policy decision affects the future you share with your industry and colleagues, you will either benefit by the decision or get hurt by it. So it's important that your voice be heard when that decision is made. And the fact is, your PAC contributions are one of the best ways you and your colleagues can support the campaigns of candidates who understand your business interests and concerns. Once the men and women you have supported become lawmakers, they will want to hear what you have to say about the issues that affect your future. They will want to know what impact their policy decisions will have on you. That's one important reality about our political system, and it's key to understanding why you should support your PAC. Here's another. Politics in our country is very dynamic. People, issues, party control of Congress and the state legislatures are not static, but are always changing. Some of these changes affect your PAC and make your support more important than ever. For example, recent elections have produced a closely divided U.S. Congress, with the majority party holding a very slim margin of votes for passing or defeating legislation. This fact, combined with the often bitterly partisan nature of the political rhetoric in Washington, has produced more straight party line votes than we have witnessed in years. It's getting harder and harder to find bipartisan support for any policy issue, with Democrats and Republicans continually drawing new lines in the sand. Your PAC emerges as an important tool in securing legislative support from both sides of the aisle. Keep in mind that the only people more important to lawmakers than their party's legislative leadership are the constituents and political supporters who helped elect them in the first place. Here's what I mean. Let's use a pyramid model to portray a typical congressional district. We can put a member of Congress at the top of the pyramid and the constituents that lawmaker represents underneath. Lawmakers are elected to represent all of their constituents, but since legislative decisions most often produce win-lose situations, we instinctively recognize that some constituents tend to get better representation than others. By the same token, some have greater influence in how the lawmaker may vote on any one issue that may arise. Now, let's take a hard look at our pyramid. Who gets this better representation? Who has the greatest influence? And what does this mean to you and your decision whether or not to support your PAC? First, we must eliminate 26% of the people who live in a typical congressional district. They are not old enough to vote or can't legally vote for some other reason. Remember, an elected official's first priority must be to get re-elected if he or she wants a career in politics. By the way, their second priority is to never forget their first priority. If a lawmaker's career is totally dependent upon people who go to the polls and vote for them on election day, how much representation do you think someone who legally can't vote is going to get? I submit that this is the lowest level of influence in any legislative district. Of those constituents who are legally eligible to vote, we must discount about 25%. These are individuals who are not registered to vote. They have not taken the legal steps necessary to cast a ballot. They have voluntarily made themselves a part of the same group of people who can't legally vote. and I submit that they receive about the same level of representation. Of those people who are left, those who are registered to vote, another 38% must be eliminated. You see, although they are registered, they don't vote. Now, what we have left is a group of people who vote in elections, and they are all important. But in an average district, we can eliminate about 48% of them. These are people who voted for the wrong candidate. They voted for the loser. Now we have a smaller group of people who actually voted for the winning candidate, and all are very important and can have influence. But even here, some of these people have greater influence than others. Right at the top of the pyramid, we have those individuals in political action committees like your PAC who recognize that political campaigns cost money, and they have made a contribution to the candidate's campaign. For no matter how good the candidate or how sound their position on the issues, without money to campaign and communicate with voters, he or she stands little chance of winning. The individuals in PACs who provide the financial resources for the candidate's campaign are literally capitalizing the lawmaker's entire career. It's not surprising that the lawmaker finds their names a lot easier to remember. Above these individuals and groups are the people who volunteered to work in the lawmaker's campaign. These people recognize that although money is important, it takes people power to win campaigns. The candidate knows most of these people by first name. The only people more important than those who contributed money and who volunteered in the campaign are the individuals in PACs who got those people to contribute money and who got those people to volunteer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if the lawmaker depicted in this model is in a position to cast a deciding vote on a piece of legislation that affects both you and your industry, where on this pyramid would you like your industry to be? Let's take this concept one step further. If the pyramid represents a district in which your industry has employees, offices, or facilities, your PAC supports represents the most potent kind of political power. Such power is based on constituency, financial support from your PAC, and the fact that the PAC got others to contribute. Equally important are the potential votes constituent employees in the district have to offer. Is there any question where you will be on the pyramid, or whether a candidate you support will won't listen to you and your concerns as a lawmaker? Your PAC can put your industry at the top of the pyramid for lawmakers from across the country who don't represent a district in which your industry has its operation. These lawmakers also vote on the issues that affect you. And since your industry isn't in their district and a natural part of their pyramid, they need a good reason to listen to your concerns. Your PAC can help you play a role by financing some of their campaigns and furthering their careers. And that's a very good reason for them to listen to you. This really isn't nuclear physics. If you were a lawmaker, would you behave any differently? This is just practical, reality-based politics. One final reality. Federal law and the laws of many states prohibit organizations from making contributions, direct or indirect, to any candidate for public office. That is an absolute, complete prohibition. The only thing your association may do is form a political action committee. Federal and most state laws permit your association to pay the cost of operating a PAC with general funds. And that is a real benefit to you because it pays the administrative cost of the PAC. Every dollar you contribute is used for political purposes, to elect candidates who support the business interests you share with your industry and colleagues. So here's the challenge. We have a highly competitive legislative arena in which you and your industry must compete in order to win. Yet in today's political world, in order to compete effectively in the legislative arena, you must also be able to compete in the political campaign arena, where lawmakers get elected. The only way your industry can participate in political campaigns is if you and your colleagues understand the need to compete and are willing to voluntarily contribute some of your own money to your PAC. For it is only the dollars that you and your colleagues provide that can be used to support candidates for Congress and most state legislatures. Why should you support your PAC? Because it is the only legal way you and your colleagues have to join together and support the political interests you share with your industry and with each other. One of the greatest rights we as Americans have is the right to be involved in our own governance. In our country, it is truly our individual choice to become as politically involved as we want. Just as it is our right to be players in politics, it is also our right to be victims if we choose. In making your decision concerning your own level of involvement and whether or not you will join your PAC or increase your current giving, I ask you to look at the big picture and think it through very carefully. Make sure you don't leave your industry and your colleagues vulnerable as potential victims of the political process, simply because you were unwilling to respond to this call for political action. Your PAC deserves your support. The future you share with your industry and colleagues is worth protecting.
Hello, I'm Scott Clark, Risk and Benefits Officer for Miami-Dade County Public Schools, 2011 RIMS President, and the current Chair of the RISK PAC Board of Trustees. As members of RIMS, we cannot ignore the fact that legislation has a significant impact on risk management. The reauthorization of the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act, or TRIA, is a good example of that. Most recently, the passage of the SMART Act, which streamlines the reporting process for claim settlements involving Medicare beneficiaries, demonstrates how RIMS members benefit when we are successful in our efforts. As you are aware, passage of the SMART Act has been a legislative priority for RIMS for a number of years. RISK PAC was created for two reasons. First, to help elect members of Congress who will champion RIMS public policy concerns. And secondly, to educate members on these issues. This video gave you the facts about political action committees, political involvement, and the pivotal role you play. Now I invite you to learn more about RISK PAC and decide to make your financial contribution to support the campaigns of congressional candidates who advocate for the interests of risk management. Your RISK PAC, we can protect the risk management professionals from the political risk involved in shaping public policy. Please join me and your fellow RIMS colleagues and support RISK PAC today. Thank you.